Hello, I'm Rangru.
And hey, I'm Con O'Rourke, and today we have a 2v2 on the map of Cho, and what can you tell us about the allies there, Rangru?
Well, on the right hand side in blue, playing as the allies, we got Azar as the 3rd Armour Division, and 3 Morgans as the 2nd Infantry Division, so an American-centric team.
Meanwhile, over on the Axis side, we do seem to have Uller Minya as the 12th SS Panzer Division, and Metzl as the 91st Luftlande, so definitely going to see a lot of kind of vehicle, yet a fair amount of infantry play as well. So, what can we expect out of this map so far? I mean, Rangru, you're going to be the strategic guy for this. What can you tell us?
Well, this is a very open map, as you can tell. There's not many bunched up forests, it's a lot of just hedgerows here and there. So long-range anti-tank guns is going to be vitally important. I'm thinking for Metro as a 91st Luftlande, he can just ersatz troop and spam. You just run them across the open field, and then he can have his support guns and anti-tank guns helping in the back. And for Uraminya as the Trove SS, his Firefly is going to have a very nice time, as there's not really too many choke points for him to worry about. And as we all know, as the Axes do get those more heavier, powerful guns. So if Uraminya can get later on, get those Panthers up, he's going to have a good time, and as long as they take advantage for the openness of the map.
Now, I heard you mention the Firefly early on. Yeah, if you look at Uller Minya over here, his initial build, I'm seeing a Cromwell. Do you preference that particular kind of decision, or would you actually prefer that Firefly?
Well, the Firefly is a very risky unit to pick up, because it's a 200-point unit, while a Cromwell Firefly, I believe, is only 100 points. But what makes the Cromwell actually not a bad starting choice, it does have that 1.2 kilometer range. So against allied anti-tank guns, those 6-pounders cannot hit the Cromwell at max range. So what I'm guessing he's doing is going to use his infantry and other units to screen in front, and then he's going to spot anti-tank guns and other nasty threats at ray, so the Cromwell can just blow up your stationary positions rather easily. And he is using anti-tank guns, which hopefully should be enough to deal with the allied armor. It's only going to have to worry about regular M4 Shermans and Honey Stewarts, which aren't too bad. The PAC 38 guns aren't amazing, especially if the AT gun nerf.
Taking us through real quick in terms of the player positions, how do you see these kind of matchups feeling on out? I mean, very often you see in 2v2 maps it ends up being kind of a 1v1 in one side of the map and a 1v1 on another one. So lay it out for us. What are we looking at?
So we've got 91st Luftlande on the top hand side, rightfully so, because on the town, ersatz troop and spam kind of just goes hand in hand, while the Trove SS, all around, bottom hand is tank heaven with those giant lush open fields. But for the allies, we got Azar 3rd Armoured going down below. Makes sense, he's the armoured deck, he wants to take advantage of the open ground, especially if his jumbos later on, as 3 Morgans, I'm just going to call them Morgans, going up top of infantry, and if he can use his Ranger Assaults effectively, he should have a pretty easy time without town, because as we all know, Ranger Assaults are pretty bloody deadly.
Oh, that's definitely true. Yeah. Very true. One thing I will say, I'm not seeing a lot of recon over here for the Germans. How do you feel about that particular decision?
I guess not too bad. I mean, for Metchel, he can just use ersatz troop and recon. But I'm seeing, is Metchel sending all these units up to the town? No, he's sending quite a few of those units into the kind of like bottom half of the town area. So we're going to see what he's going to be doing now, not going full on into the town. Well, it seems like Morgan's is he's going pretty hard in town, just a few recon and other units heading to the southern side.
I was going to say, okay, so if you want to highlight all the units real quick, I'm going to show what their final positions.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see anything interesting about this so far?
No, it's pretty standard stuff. Heavy attacks into the town, the middle is just a few defensive stuff, and down below, Munya is really taking advantage of that hedgerow to block line of sight so he can unload his troops and get his anti-tank guns into position. But, it's pretty standard play. I don't think either side is going to attack too hard in the middle, because people are very reluctant to attack into the middle, because you can get hit by both flanks, where if you hit on, the bottom or top hand of the map, you can't get flanked in one area, which kind of relieves a little bit of stress.
Now, I don't want to cut you off too quickly, but at the same time, it does look like we're going to get our first firefight. It's going to be beginning any second here. The Opel Blitzes are, of course, offloading all of those troops. And I have to say, would you suggest that maybe the 3 Morgans is in a better position with these Ranger assaults? Or, I mean, we're seeing some rifles, and not really, actually a lot of them now, to think about it.
I know. Yeah, okay, you've got a few Ranger assaults. The Ranger assault is all about position. If he can get close and close range with the Fouchagers, he wins. But as you can see, the Fouchagers right now, pinning down that Ranger assault squad and forcing it to retreat. It really just comes down to if he can get close to those assaults, because that flamethrower is saving grace.
Oh, very true, very true. Now, one thing I am kind of surprised to see right now already is that there's not a whole lot of meat grindery action going to be setting on up for the southern side of the map. And of course, I'm sure you could comment, a lot of tanks don't really want to go into that meat grinder. By the same token, we are seeing several infantry units and actually a couple of air assault trooping going down very early here. But it does seem like those Ranger assaults are bogging down quite a bit. One falling back out of the town already, and really kind of falling back on that DD tank.
Yeah, the Ranger assaults are having trouble closing that gap because they don't have a forest or like a good building cover to really run up and get close to the Fouchagers. So they're forced to stay back or they're just going to get annihilated.
Now, I want you to take a look at the southern side of the map from here, too, because like I said, while we're not seeing a lot of immediate action, we're seeing a lot of probing starting to begin to happen here. 251 supporting a Panzer Grenadier squad, moving up into one of those hedgerows. Now, I'm sure that we're not going to see perhaps an immediate push, but I imagine it could be kind of interesting to see what maybe a Shrek kind of rush, a Faust rush coming on in at the same time. How do you feel about that kind of idea here?
Yeah, we got those Stuarts. They are pretty close to the forest, not close enough to take advantage of a Panzerfaust, but a Panzer Shrek could definitely hit him, but I don't believe Minya would have him in his deck. But the thing is Minya can't really attack across that hedgerow because there's 3 bloody Stuarts on the other side. They're just gonna pop your Cromwell rather easily unless he goes all the way around the bottom hand flank. And because he only has AT guns, he can't really be that aggressive. So unless he gets a Firefly and brings it around the bottom hand side to try to hit those Stuarts, he can't exactly do too much.
Well, and that's an interesting comment that you do bring up, is that the Stuarts are a rather powerful unit early on, especially for the 3rd Armored. I remember casting a couple of games recently, and I see P4s getting taken out by those Stuarts, but it looks like a P-Grem might get close enough to get one of those Fausts off. Yes, there we go. Actually, the Scott buys it, and it does not look like the M5A1s can get any kind of vengeance in return. And we're starting to see bounces here. Can you identify the source from that? It looks like actually maybe the Pak-38s are getting in on that fight.
Yeah, they just got just enough of an angle, knocking out another Stuart. Yeah, so Asa is going to be forced to retreat. They just have barely an angle to shoot at those Stuarts as they poke around. So Asa is going to be forced to be rather defensive, as we've got some Panzer Grenadiers and whatnot being brought up.
Now, what should we be expecting from something like these first reinforcements, though, too? We're starting to see some Allied troops coming in, a T-30 HMC in the north, so a nice little bit of ranged artillery there, as well as some infantry. But what should we expect out of the Germans? I mean, of course, the 91st Luftlande is going to be very infantry-centric, very kind of off-mappy.
Yeah, we've got an off-map party being brought up at 10 mil.
True, and the 12th SS is not going to see a lot of firepower, I would argue, until Phase B and Phase C. So what would you expect to see out of the Germans at this particular time?
Well, we already got the Firefly being brought up from Minya. It is more and about time because it is a very essential unit to bring up. It's hard to play a Phase 12 SS without the Firefly yet. Personally, I really hate using it because how risky it is to use, but I think it's just going to be pretty standard. Some infantry, some artillery, maybe a bit of recon, or maybe a fire support vehicle, because as you can see in the middle, they are already starting to probe a little bit with their Panzer Grenadiers. And I'm guessing for Metchel, it's going to be a lot of ersatz trooping, because you can't get enough ersatz trooping.
I would agree. Now, one thing that's surprising me a little bit, and actually making me a little bit nervous right now, is that you do see 3 Morgans. He's got a couple of ducks in the middle part of the map, but he's not really doing a whole lot with them. They're not disembarking, they're not really doing anything. Are we possibly seeing perhaps a setup for maybe trying to burst the center between the 2 German positions?
What? Sorry, you cut out.
No, of course. Okay, so the ducks in the center part of the map right now for 3 Morgans. I got a couple of ducks there with troops still inside. Would you care to comment on whether or not you think there's going to be a push through the center part of the map?
I think he's just using them for defensive purposes right now, because you already got the Panzer Grenadiers already probing through, and Asa's really starting to plug this up by using his half-tracks very effectively, of course, because it's definitely going to help out in that long-range engagement. But I'm guessing he's just going to try and put them into that little town area in the middle just to hold on. And it's really quite interesting for Morgan, because you usually see a lot of 2nd Infantry guys. Their A phase lineup of infantry is just rangers. I hardly see rifles being brought up in A phase, but it's usually more of a B to C phase unit to boost up your forces.
Seems very accurate, and we actually are approaching Phase B at a very, very slow rate here. I have to admit, Rangru, I have a couple of seconds behind you. I have to tone down my sound just a tiny, tiny bit. So I'm at 1020 right now. I'm going to help you give a little bit of a guideline there.
Yeah, I'm at 1030, so we're not too... I'm at 1033 right now.
Okay, I'm 8 seconds behind. Just, let's not be too excited here, okay? Now, okay, so returning to the north and take a look at that meat grinder I cited before, we are going to see a 60mm mortar for 3 Earl Morgans is going to get hit by a TOT barrage in just a second here. It looks like 15 seconds to go. And we see our first aircraft on the map, a Henkel 129, making a nice little gun run across the center line. Now, what I'm a little bit interested to see for myself is whether or not we are going to see all that 2nd Infantry getting pushed back out of the town center.
Oh yeah, it definitely looks like it. The rifles aren't exactly great units, especially when fighting Feldjägers, which are bloody brilliant Ubermensch. And the Ranger Assault Shaters cannot get into good positions to stop his assault, so I'm thinking Morgan's is going to get pushed out of his town unless he can get some proper fire support. He does have a Sherman, yeah, but a little bit dangerous at close range. Those Feldjägers have Panzerfaust, and his mortars are just getting off-map parties rather heavily, so it's not looking great for Morgan's.
Definitely fair, definitely fair. Now, if you are 3 Earl Morgans, though, how would you play this particular situation? I mean, obviously, the 2nd Infantry doesn't have a lot of armored vehicles to really call on, and their anti-tank tends to come a little bit later in the game, Phase B, Phase C, before you have any sort of significant anti-tank presence. Given that you are facing an almost entirely infantry division, what's the counterplay to this?
A lot of artillery helps. He does have those 60mm mortars, which are decent, but as you can see, they've already got counter-artillery. They're still alive, which is rather good. Probably the heavier 107 mortars to help out. There's a few good spots, I think, around the town to use long-range fire support, but I think it really is just you do have to use Rangers, like Ranger supports and Ranger M1919s to help you get through the A phase, because rifles are just not really that good, because the bar machine gun, even though they have 2 bars and semi-automatic rifles, it's not going to cut it against Feldjägers, which of course are a much higher tier unit.
I don't want to cut you off too much. At the same time, we did just see the Ranger Assault did force a surrender real quick of a Panzer gun and a DR unit. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to really change the battle lines too much. You want to take a quick look at the score. We have 44 to 130 with a flat 50-50 between both teams. And was I wrong, or did I just see that the last artillery barrage got dropped by the Schimmenwagen in the north?
Yeah, I think he used up all 3 of his charges already, so that's the thing of off-map party. They're very powerful, and of course they're bloody annoying to deal with. But a lot of people, they just unload it all immediately, so now we have to trim them around.
I don't want to cut you off real quick, but we are going to see an ME-109 comes in, takes out 160mm mortar, and this Henkel is trying to get in to take out this artillery piece, and does so. So the 2nd Infantry is getting, just honestly, it's starting to form a slight bit of a cauldron, a little bit of a bulge in the German lines for the moment. But I kind of get the feeling that Metzel really could be pressing the issue if he really desired to.
It's really not much of a force left. If he had run off-map party barrage, that's a very nice clumped up force to try to attack, but yeah, he's pretty much holed up in that little town, Mr. Morgan's. He does have a few fire supports to help out, but I think Maxwell's just going to sit back, enjoy the +1 point advantage, and not try to push too hard.
And that's fair, but maybe one thing we haven't checked out so far, let's switch over to the Axis point of view for a second. Let's click on Metzel just to see what he actually does see. So he is going to see a P-47 coming on in. Some bombs are coming down. Not even see what's coming down just yet. Unfortunately, maybe it looks like he's just on combat air patrol. But we are noting right now that we will be dropping an artillery barrage right into this middle of this town center, but I guess we're not really noticing the difference between what we see and what they see right now. That Sherman, for example, is only coming into view, I think, just about now. Let's slide back down to the southern side of this map real quick to see, first of all, the center is heating up a little bit. We have a little bit of action, like you said before, probing coming out. 250s, actually we just hit Phase B in the meantime too, so I'm going to ask you to bring us up to speed on what we should be expecting from both sides here. But 250s pressing on in, and then they will definitely outgun the M3s, although that Command Stewart will send them packing should they press the issue too much. But lead us into Phase B. What should we be expecting out of Phase B from, let's say, the northern battlefield, and we'll get down to the south in just a second.
Bro, for Azza is automatically bringing up a 76mm Sherman, which is going to be a good counter against the Firefly. He does need to try to stun up the Firefly beforehand. He's going to be doing that with a mortar, which is going to help. So, really for Azza, 76 Shermans, and hopefully he has some Jumbos, because the Jumbos are fantastic. Like, especially against Trophy S, thinking, because the Panther can't pen the Jumbo at max range, and you can just use it as a punching bag and get shot at. Minia's probably going to bring up, of course, Panthers, maybe some Panzer Force, and I gotta give him props for keeping the Firefly and the Cromwell alive for A phase. That's a bit of an accomplishment, keeping both of those alive. And really for Metrals, it's pretty simple. Just already got some Pioneers being brought out, and probably some more standard units as the actual Luftlande really starts to get its more regular equipment.
Just a quick note, sorry to cut you off. We are going to see a P-Grand squad down at the southern tip of the map. Has taken out a half-track, going to be pushing back a Jeep in the meantime, and it's going to looks like it's going to be aggressing and really starting to take some more territory for those Germans. Not getting a whole lot of assistance, though. Never mind, there's another Grenadier squad coming down with a fast take out of the Jeep. Maybe not the most exciting immediate play, but like you said, we are going to see both the Firefly and the Cromwell are still alive. Tell me, why are you thinking that these Fireflies and these Cromwells are not pushing the issue a little bit more? Heck, for that matter, why are these Pak-38s still so far behind by a couple hundred meters behind the front line? It wouldn't be much better place shifting them on in.
Yeah, that's just pretty bad place.
Ooh, and we just actually lost the Firefly.
Got knocked out, yeah. The Pak-38s, yeah, just, yeah, it's pretty bad placement, especially having them both together. It really sort of moves them up to the next front line, but, really, like, losing the Firefly is going to be a bit of a hurting, yeah. For me.
Hold on a second, we have a bit of air power coming on in. One guy's on combat air patrol. Actually, we're going to see the Tiger Wittmann coming on now, so Michael Wittmann has hit the field. Henkel 129 is going to go. He's forcing a bailout on the Stewart. And this ME 109 actually not making a whole lot of aggressive play. But here comes Francis Gabreski, so he's going to come in, probably take out this 129 pretty quickly, I think. Already smoking up as we speak, but Gabreski is taking a lot of ground fire. Now, I mentioned this in the recent video for myself, and I'm sure you've seen the post. There's a lot of flack, no pun intended, that these 20mm are way too powerful. How do you feel about that?
Autocannons?
Yeah, you know, if it hurts, that's what they're using.
Autocannons are really good, but it's one of the main things that make Germany rather interesting as a nation. They don't get the 50 cal, but instead they get 20mm autocannons. What makes them really powerful, and why I kind of agree with OP, is AP scaling, because they can penetrate like lighter tanks pretty effectively if they're getting close. They usually have good veterancy. A lot of these are like 234s and 22s, and they're just pretty powerful.
Give me just a second here. I want to go back to the north. You might see the Sherman starting to advance a little bit. I don't know. Okay, never mind. He's falling back. Yeah. There was a quick rocket attack coming up from the ME 109 to force back an MG rifles as well as an M20, and that DD seemed like he was going to be brave and charge on in, almost coming into the Fallschirmjägers. In fact, I'm wondering if those Fallschirmjägers just did not take the shot because of that forced order there. That seems a little bit of a misplay on the part of Metzel. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think he just kind of kept him back a little bit. Didn't want to try and expose him to other support guns in the back, because you've got a Bofors here, you got a 50 cal machine gun squad. So he probably, and usually when you're holding a town, it's pretty nice just to stay in the center of it and not put your units on the outskirts, because then they can get exposed to outside fire. It's not like Wargame Red Dragon where you can just put an ATGM squad on the outside and just hope for the best. What time are you at, by the way?
1902, and I'm not sure if you noticed this, by the way, but down in the south, actually, we are going to see a Calliope has been called on in. And we are actually seeing Michael Wittmann slowly making his way to the front. I think he's trying to move up in close support of this Panzer Grenadiers. They're getting carved to pieces, those poor bastards.
What time are you at now? Because I just paused my replay for like a few seconds.
1920. 1921.
Yeah, okay,
there we go. ME 109 making a gun run after this M4A3. This up gun seems to be... Oh, never mind, he's falling back. He's pulling away from that attack run. But no, interestingly enough, so we have a Calliope down on the field. And I don't know if you're a Company Furious 2 guy, but at the same time,
Yep.
quite a powerful vehicle in company of heroes too. How do you feel about its particular effectiveness here?
The Calliope's wonderful. It's one of the flavor units that the Third Armor has.
Oh, whoa, whoa! I hate to cut you off. Michael Wittmann goes down as Stewart takes him out.
Sure, there we go.
Wow, that's a shame right there.
That was pretty silly using the Michael Wittmann like that. Completely unsupported. Definitely got a bit too cocky here, but good play there from Mazza. Very good play.
I definitely agree. And again, another thing, actually speaking of indirect fire in the south to the north, we're actually going to have a xylophone coming on in. Basically the American version of the Katyusha.
Yep.
I think we're probably going to be seeing ourselves a little bit of a, how do I put this delicately? Well, a ton of damage being done, I'm guessing, to the Luftlande in a pretty short bit of time. Looks like he's moving behind that Bofors in the front line, about 200 meters off that.
Yep. And the xylophone's definitely a pretty smart. It's exactly what he needs to just stun up that town to bring up his forces. But he has a lot of rifles, which should be enough if he uses the xylophone correctly, even doing a bombing run, as you can see. But it's just going to be about suppressing the heck out of that town, and then moving up and trying to clear it up with his fire support and riflemen.
Now,
and I'm at 56 up now.
Okay, 21 flat, 21-1, 21-2.
Yep, we're
all
exactly
right,
on the
so
same time.
Quick thing for you. So maybe you can tell us, a lot of our newer players out there, I know you do a lot on the mechanics of this particular game. Airborne divisions, of course, don't suffer the same kind of penalties in terms of being surrounded, in terms of also actually surrendering as well. How do you think that really plays into this particular defensive strategy that's going on right now?
I think for the Fallshakers, it doesn't really matter too much because they're not going to be surrounded, and 91st Luftlande is the least airborne division in game. They're more like a hindered infantry division, where just they get a lot of planes to also bolster up. But I think for the Fallshakers, they're probably not going to get surrounded. It's just going to be a simple frontline battle. And I think, as well, he's going to have to start relying on Grenadiers and Pioneers soon, because you only get 8 Fallshakers for your 91st Luftlande, and he's already lost a few of them, as I have counted, so I don't think he has too many left.
We have some air combat going on here, P-47 going after ME-109, but in turn getting chased off a little bit. Oh, never mind. Those Bofors...
Oh, good AA.
Jeez.
Good AA. I know, got another plane going after the Thunderbolt.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm actually rather surprised by that. I mean, the 91st Luftlande, of course, is a very, very good and strong Luftwaffe faction, excuse me. And the P-47 does mark, I think, the first kill of this particular game, which is shocking so far, considering the kind of airstrikes that we've seen. Let me shift down to the south real quick. So we are going to see a Jagdpanzer as well as his Beuter Cromwell still alive.
Oh, Jagdpanzer. That's
beautiful
a really
shot.
Good pick. He hasn't been too close up, which I don't like, but the Jagdpanzer is wonderful against Third Armored because max AP at Third Armored has 14 with their 76mm static tank guns.
And you can see it happening already. That Command Stewart, I think, was that the same one who took out Wittmann before? I don't know.
It was the same run as.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so they're already paying the blood price for it, although we have a couple of jumbos coming back around as well. Now, and here's something that, honestly, for me, you could clear up a little bit more. I don't see a lot of the top players really running with a lot of support vehicles. So, why is that? Why don't people tend to bring in a lot of earlier GMCs?
In terms of all the allies?
Frankly, actually, with both. I mean, you'd often see Panzer Grenadier groups very quickly. Ooh, recon, excuse me, not a recon squad. See a crew killed on one of the Jagdpanzers. What I was going to say is that very often we are going to see, that nice little double kill right there.
Jesus, that's why you don't group up units, mate. That is terrible. That's 380 points lost, yeah.
And actually, looks like we're going to see some more of that. Let's drop the support for right now. We actually going to see 2 more P4s coming in just to the northwest of that. Ooh, the Beuter Cromwell as well buys it.
She's got some real good use of those 76mm Shermans, man. Taking advantage of the long range that they have. And yeah, Azza's really starting to turn this back around. With just 76 Shermans, no jumbos at all, which is quite impressive, I have to admit, because those 76s are pretty a bit more exposed.
Oh, just missed the xylophone going down to the north. I think it was the ME-109 made a nice little rocket attack against it. But it does seem like that's given at least fresh life over to the Americans for the moment. They are down 730 tickets, and that lead's only growing at the same time. We're seeing more infantry being thrown into the grinder. This Sherman is, shockingly enough, still alive.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing he managed to keep it alive, especially with all the power shakers around, but he's in a good position. He's going to give a lot of fire support, already hitting up at one power shaker squad, and Sherman's great fire support units, of course, because of their overabundance of bloody 50 cal machine guns. It's only one 50 cal machine gun, but that's more than enough in most cases.
Well, and the Browning M1919 isn't too bad either, and frankly, he still has 4,400 rounds with that, too.
Yeah, you get a lot of machine gun ammunition, and yeah, Sherman's is a good fire support unit overall, and he's starting to push back for his meat grinder as a lot of those Fouchagers and Earthhouse troopers are forced to retreat, and it's because he is using his fire support correctly. Where if looking at Luftlande guy, all he has is infantry, and he cannot kill these Germans and them Trenties with just infantry at that range. He needs to stagger some air power to try and even launch.
And it seems like he's finally had enough, though. Ooh, first of all, we actually have a house-to-house fighting, and the rifles quickly just completely take out that unit. And I have to highlight that. You just never see enough of that these days. It's definitely a missed opportunity.
In war games, you shoot out a lot more because the sectors are much bigger, and it is pretty hard to run them up into buildings, because building areas are rather small, but yeah, pretty damn good use, because American semi-automatic rifles are better in both actions. Yeah, he did get against the South Trooping Squad, so a rather easy kill. Oh, bombing on there.
Wow, good lord. Check out the southern part of the map yet again. Okay, so we have these upgun Shermans, and this entire 3rd Armor front seems to be completely and totally collapsed as far as Metzel's troops are concerned. Actually, not Metzel, excuse me, Euler Minya is concerned. Metzel is finally being called into the fight, though. Henkel making a gun run after one of these Shermans, but there's an awful lot of anti-air that'll still be in the area. M15 making some fire. Oh my gosh, P4 going down in the meantime as well.
Panzer 4 going down too, jeez. Yeah, the B3, I don't think he's going to be able to get out of that one alive. The Mustang is spot on his tail. I mean, it is very risky using 129 to about air superiority, because wow, AI actually killed it. That's rather rare.
Well, and that's something I wanted to actually bring up. While we're seeing a Panther G coming on in and some 109s on combat air patrol, are you really thinking that this is a fantastic 3rd Armored play, or is it honestly some missed opportunities by our German players?
I think, I don't want to discredit Azur, of course. He's doing a good job, especially flanking or really getting a side shot on Michael Rittman. But I'm just looking at Minya, and he's made a lot of bad choices, rushing up the Tiger, keeping 2 Jagdpanzers, getting them flanked by a single 76 Sherman, and then losing both of them. He had a lot of those, and losing the Panzer IV earlier too, he had a lot of those really useful power units that could have helped him break through his 3rd Armoured front, but he lost them, and now he's on the opposite end of the spectrum, and he's just got so many Shermans out here from Azur.
I do want to highlight real quick, and actually I'm going to go to actual real-world history for just a second here. While we are going to see an ME-109, look, he's making another gun run. Oh, never mind. Air combat galore, and I don't think this ME-109 is going to make it too easily.
Nope.
Hankel did go down, and I believe this ME-109 is going to probably buy it soon by himself. Maybe not.
There's a lot of AA. The Thunderbolt doesn't have enough turn radius to really effectively chase it, and it might be able. Oh, he's just going to evac it. It's probably a smart move. And yeah, another 109 being brought out. So a lot of airplay from Henschel.
Okay, so actually, Rangru, if I understand correctly, you are actually very well versed in a lot of World War II history and artifacts. Is that right?
Yeah, I do it for a living. It's rather fun.
So actually, was one thing I was going to bring up to you is that, of course, in a game like this, there's always a little bit of kind of, you know, let's say variability between the historical capabilities of these vehicles. So far, how do you feel these vehicles actually do represent their real-world counterparts?
I think Eugene's done a really good job of showing their real-world counterparts, and they're pretty realistic in terms of how they function. Of course, armor values and AP values and whatnot are.
We're going to get back to that in just a second. You go to the center part of the map, we'll see a P4 has been bouncing like crazy, and Metzel's going to drop an artillery barrage. Question is, what's that going to do? Okay, we've seen actually a lot of stress happening right in the middle part of the map, falling back. Ooh, not too bad, actually. This could reverse some of the momentum a little bit.
Panther went down too by 76 Sherman, which is not good. That's not a good loss.
Though we have another one coming in just to the south of all the craters in that road right there. And another Henkel making another run in the same part of the map. He's not looking to lose any of those, though. He's got 3 ME-109s right there.
That's a lot of air support, and you really need those air support when you bring up those angles, because as you saw before, when they don't have any air superiority fighters covering them, just like the bombing runs over Germany with B-17s, they end up getting shot down.
And that's actually a great point. Very often we don't really kind of recognize how, to me anyway, and maybe you can kind of also speak to this yourself, but a lot of the ground attack planes really were obsolete by the time this stage of the war came around. I mean, the Junkers, especially for the Germans, were not the most kind of up-to-date equipment even when the war started.
Yeah, the Germans, well, if we're talking like historical stuff, much more focus on their fighters, because they're playing a much more defensive role during the Second World War, trying to stop Allied bombing runs, so they never really upgraded or used heavy bombers to such an extent, and I find it quite interesting that they decided to slap bloody anti-tank guns onto planes and hope for the best, because it's rather risky to do, and it's pretty much a physics feat, I think, to get a PaK-40 to short of fire in a plane of that size.
Well, and maybe you can comment. I can't say for sure, but I think I've read somewhere recently that kind of strategy, though, was still the predecessor towards the modern kind of gunships that we do see. I mean, the famed AC-130, for example.
Yeah, they use the, like, ground attack AT guns pretty effectively, while the Allies, they just rely on rockets to try to knock out German Panzer tanks. So you kind of got two school of thoughts, and you could kind of
real quick, I'm sorry, we can get right back to that. Metzel's going to drop another artillery barrage to the southeast, right where that GMC is. Doesn't look like he's doing a lot of immediate damage, a little bit more just freaking troops out, and I believe another one's coming up in the north in about another 15 or 20.
Yep.
I'm sorry, you were saying, please go for it.
But yeah, it's just two different schools of thought, and they definitely saw it rallying game with the Allies using Typhoon ATs and P-47 anti-tank planes to try to knock out tanks, while the Germans have to rely on B-3 and the B-1 and the obsolete Stuka to try and knock out Allied tanks. And the nerfs TM have made them a lot less effective, but the B-3 is still an absolute goddamn killer. It's very 50-50, I find it. Sometimes they can just kill a lot of tanks, other times they miss every single gun run.
One thing I think we should probably mention over here is that the 91st Luftlande is calling a lot of airstrikes in on the town itself, which is actually resulting in a fair bit of both stress for their own troops as well as the enemy, and I think it's always kind of something amusing that we don't really think about, especially in this particular game. Rocket attack landing just right by that DD tank.
Yep.
And good lord, actually we're seeing quite a furball happening up in the skies. Jeez, 3 ME-109s.
And those 109s are really good fighters. He does have the 1-star veteran trait, it helps out a lot. Good turn fighters. They're pretty damn decent, but he's going to be flying over any AA lines and completely stunned up. Unfortunately, the Allies aren't going to bring up a plane to try and intercept.
Now, one thing I didn't see before, did you see what happened to Francis Gabreski? I've seen games where that guy has racked up 6, 7, 8 kills. Is he still alive?
I don't know if I honestly don't know in terms of real life, but in terms of fighter,
I meant literally in this game.
Oh, okay. I think he's still alive. I've only seen him once or twice. Maybe I kind of missed when he got killed, and we see later on in History tab. But what really makes veterancy on fighters is such an important stat. If you could get 2 like 0-star fighters, or you could get 1 2-star fighter.
Hold up. Okay, we're seeing the tank column, the Panzer Kyle being hit hard, core rockets away, bombs galore, all 3 falling back.
Rockets.
The 223 is falling back. Okay, actually, but no actual deaths there. That's actually supremely shocking for me.
Yeah, I mean, they're really only using HE bombs and whatnot to try and soften up that Panzer column, and that is the thing about the Allied, like, ground attack bombers. They can kill German tanks. If you want to effectively do that, you really need to try and hit the side armor where it's much weaker, but just forcing them to fall back is gonna buy him some time, because they're going to have to take a little bit to do a bit of R&R.
Well, Thunderbolt's making another gun run here as well, actually bombing like crazy on those Panzer Grenadiers.
Both sides are using a lot of airplanes, and I'm loving it. Another B-3 does go down, and I think Metz was really running low in those B-3s at this point.
Well, and that's the interesting thing, too. As a 91st Luftlande player, not you maybe personally, but what would be your advice in terms of how much you should be devoting of your deck to the air power?
a lot. B3s are really important for Metroid's 91st Luftlande because you don't get great ground-based anti-tank weaponry. You get some Stugs and you get some Pack Fort, but you get some Flak 88, but really using those B3s and keeping them alive, which we can see them lose quite a lot of them, is an important aspect of using 91st Luftlande. I think you should at least have 3 B3s in your deck.
Now, one thing I'm actually surprised to see... Ooh, okay,
Oh,
Panther Forts went down. Panzer IV, excuse me. But we're also seeing now the Panther is kind of charging forward as well.
Yep.
Looks like we're going to see some engagements. Where's he taking fire from? I can't even see
He's taking fire from the 76 Sherman on the right, and if he stays at range, he's going to be safe and sound, because the 76 Sherman cannot penetrate, or reliably penetrate, at range. So he's going to do a smart thing and pull it back, and he's bringing up an AT gun, which I believe is the heavy 76mm, which should just be enough to kill the Panther G.
That's fair enough, but he's actually deactivated both of the missiles on it. Maybe he's trying to lure the enemy tank on in, it looks like.
Yep, that's exactly what he's trying to do, which is, as third armor, is a damn good idea, and he's really just using the 76 Shermans. I am very impressed that he hasn't had to resort to using the Bubba Jumbo.
Well, that was the thing I was going to bring up in just a second, but looks like we're going to see some more air powers going down for the Americans, unfortunately. This Thunderbolt making another run by himself, but there's so much ground attack fire on the...
Yep.
Jeez, good lord, that poor guy, he's smoking right now. Definitely a health hazard, and looks like he's going to make it out alive anyway, though, shockingly enough.
Yep. Fortunately for the Allies, especially these P-47 Thunderbolts, they are faster than the Messerschmitt by quite a bit. I believe they got 100 kilometers, so it does allow him to escape the Messerschmitt's air superiority wrath. As the Messerschmitt's much more, I'd say, a defensive fighter.
Now, check in real quick with me up to the north. We have seen, of course, that 3 Morgan has called in a little bit of off-map support, and that you can see the evidence of that just to the western portion of what remains of that town. Now, what I really did want to highlight, though, is that with the 2nd Infantry, despite really having a hard time initially, has paid for every single inch with blood and sweat, but it looks like they're on the verge, really, of forcing the Germans completely out of it.
You just need to, well, the Germans don't have many Faultjägers left alive, few Pioneers. I think if he does one final push, have some fire support backing him up, he should do rather well. But also thinking, it probably been a good idea for him to try to go around the southern end of the town, use his superior fire support against 91st Luftlande, and try to cut off the resupply line, or the hard resupply line into the town, and just completely surround it and then attack in instead of going in full frontal.
Another throwball happening down to the south. We are seeing P-47s galore.
That is both sides really loving the air power, and that's a good thing because, of course, they see Mustang chasing down that Messerschmitt.
Yes, he does seem to have gone down now, doesn't he? But he's got to make it back to his own lines now, and there's a lot of ground fire here.
Yep, quite a bit of ground fire. He's got those mobile wagons and 2 5.1/17s. And just enough to force that Mustang to pull back home. And there's a lot of Thunderbolts, and Thunderbolts are great, especially that single bomber run with the 230-kilogram bomb that can knock out static in place.
Quick note, though, we are going to see an M4A3 penetrating the German front line. He's already got one mobile wagon on the retreat, and it looks like he's got a fairly decent vision on pretty much everything he wants to kill.
That's a perfect area. You can pretty much, if I look for myself, he can steal all those AA and he can shoot it. The Panther's not in range.
And he actually has another brother coming on up as well. Yep. Actually, switch right over to the eye selection for him. It's a rather incredible target-rich environment here.
Oh yeah, that is knocking out all that AA would definitely make it much easier for his planes to come around. But if you take a look back into all view, we got his Panther's going to be popping around the corner to try and kill the 76 Sherman. It's definitely going to be able to kill one.
And does, as you can see right there. Yep, one does go down immediately.
But will the other one manage to shoot first? I think Panther's going to
I don't think it is. Shot. I think that there we go. And there goes the up gun.
There we go. Good use of the Panther flanking around. And because the 76 Shermans are facing more towards the south, he couldn't turn around in time to deal with that Panther threat. And Jesus Christ, it's one of those.
Now, I have to admit, one thing I've been disappointed by on most of this map so far is that we actually haven't seen a little bit of coordination between the players, other than just to say Metzel's air power has been thrust all over the map. Yeah. Looking at the way the town looks right now, do you think it might have behooved Ulaminia to send at least one heavier tank up to the north?
I don't think really a tank would have helped for him. Just just 5 support units. Like a Stug right now for Metrals, all he really needs, and all he really needed before, because yeah, it's good enough for 5 support. It can deal with those other Shermans and whatnot. I think it's really just fine for him doing the separate 1v1s on this map, because it is rather big. It's hard to delegate the tasks, and for Troph SS, you can't exactly, you can only bring up Panzer Grenadiers, and yeah, very limited in supply, so I guess Minya wanted to save them for themselves. But looking at soft-map party, I think Morgan should be able to penetrate and capture the rest of the town, as Blue Force slowly catching up in that plus run, right on the heels of the Axis in terms of points.
And I'm happy you brought that up. I was going to make a note of that myself. It does seem that the Northern Front is not obviously completely calmed down, as we actually are seeing a new burst of troops being sent in there. But does seem to have petered out more or less. We are going to see a little bit more action happening over here to the south. MGMCs being called in galore for lots of anti-air.
Oh, yeah.
And frankly, a lot of just air-to-air fighting going on. Now, you said before, that's really kind of shocking that Azar has not been calling in any jumbos whatsoever. Given the supply situation that he has in this Phase C, do you see that as kind of a misplay, or just a stylistic choice, or what could really be a good idea with this?
I think it's really just a stylistic choice. There's another dude on Steel Division subreddit who just made a 3rd Armored deck that was just 75mm Shermans. So I'm guessing he's just doing a match with only 76mm, which you can make work, but jumbos are very easy to use, and I think it would have helped a lot with trying to make a breakthrough through the middle portion, like the crossroads portion of that southern hand sign, because he can use that, just tank the Panther, he kills the Panther, and then he can just go on through the rest of the area, laugh as it bounces off his frontal hull, and yeah, just do a pretty decent breakthrough. But for now, as he's holding on, he's using the hedgerows as line of sight blockers rather effectively, so it's going to be about rather, well, you don't really have to attack because he also has a +1 point advantage.
No, we just did see the Allies are now ahead in terms of tickets. Now, one thing I am a little bit nervous about is that 76mm that you were talking about before. He is definitely saddling on forwards into this tree line. He's going to be right next to these spot troops.
Oh, yeah.
And indeed, even with the Wolverine in support, I don't know if it's really the greatest place for him to be. Of course, up above, gun run does happen, but he pays for it with his life.
Yeah,
as Metzel has really, I think, kept Uller Minya in the game, whether it's in the south.
Yeah, Metchel's just a fantastic job with the air support. He's been all over the map, dropping bombs left, right, and center, which definitely makes up because nothing really happened in top hand side. That was just a bloody meat grinder, so giving that fire support down below is definitely going to help. You only got like a minute and 30 seconds left in the match.
Oh, wait, the 47s do not want to be denied. They're dropping bombs after that Panther.
Yep.
I don't think... Oh, there we go. Fuel explosion.
There we go. If you drop enough bombs, it will blow up, and that's exactly what happened, yeah.
Actually, I hate to disagree with you. It actually turns out, I think it was that 76mm. That guy still has his HE. He's dead now. He had his HE off, but his AP was definitely on. I think that was on point as well.
That's probably it, yeah. I mean, you can always just double check in the history. Oh, Wolverine goes down, yeah. By the flat gun. I think
indeed, well, that's the dreaded 88 after all, so... And I think it's fairly safe to say we're probably going to see an Allied victory out of this one. As we start to kind of close this out, what kind of comments are you thinking here? What would have been a much more effective strategy for the Germans?
I think for Minya, he really just made some very silly plays, rushing up his Yad Panzers and Tigers, maybe attacking along the far southern flank instead of trying to go across his hedgerow, because Azar's really just been using that hedgerow line just north of the road very effectively to block off line of sight and denying those German tanks from being able to use a long-range advantage.
One more quick thing before this game ends. We're back to a 50-50 split, and it looks like the Calliopes are looking to celebrate July 4th a little bit early.
Just a little bit early.
Just suppressing out that German infantry, and I think we're going to end right about here. So, 979 to 843, I think, will be the final score. We're going to switch over to now the post-game screen for just a second here. So how about, let's talk about the team history. Let's talk about the team stats. Do you think that kind of fairly reflects the kind of effort that both players have put into this?
Yeah, Azur's definitely got a lot of kills knocking out those Yad Panzers and Tigers from before, and it's pretty average KD. Metro as well definitely got a lot of kills with his airplanes. And I just want to take a look. It was Azur who did Otis. And I just want to see at the end. Yeah, the Panther went down to the 76mm gun. And I'm just looking through the history right now. It's pretty balanced all around. Both sides were given and taken as much as they were given.
Now, there is kind of one funny thing, actually. If you do check out, there's an M4A3 under the command of Hogarth that was just an absolute beast. Boy to Firefly, boy to Cromwell, half-tracks galore, infantry like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Really kind of fascinating, but at the same time, Uller Minya's Cromwell, well, he apparently needed to go down. Of course, a lot of the material they took out was much, much lighter than that.
Yep. Good use of the Cromwell. He definitely used it very well during the A phase to give good suppressant fire into the forest at long range from the safe distance of anti-tank guns, but of course you do end up losing it because it's a flimsy vehicle.
Okay, so it looks like we're coming down to the end of this. Any kind of final thoughts about this particular match?
Yeah, it's a pretty good match. I think maybe both sides could have exploited the middle a little bit, because the top-hand side, nothing really happened. There was a status quo for both players, and attacking the middle always seems a bit scary, because you're worried that you're going to get flanked from either side, but usually it's the softest spot, the soft shell for you to punch through. And even if you do get pushed back, just having, that good breakthrough for just 5 minutes, get that point advantage, helps out a ton. But good play from both sides. Definitely had their pros and cons.
I do want to make one quick note here. I know we're coming right up to the end of this, but it does look like 1349, Francis Gabreski did buy it. Thank you so much to Temples under the command of Metzel. And ME-109 did take down the Ace. So that's one question answered at least.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty much all we have to say, so should we just end it off?
Sounds like a good plan. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been actually very, very interesting for me to be casting with another human being for a change. I hope Rangru has enjoyed the experience as well.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this too, and you should expect to see more of these soon, as we are planning to do. Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing. So, folks, if you're watching this on my channel, I'm going to post a link to Rangru's channel, so go and check him out. He's definitely got a lot of great material.
If you're watching my channel.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Thing for Khan. And I'm Rangru.
I'm Khan Ulrich. I'll see you guys all soon.
Take it easy.
Bye. Good day.